the land of 100,000 islands.
Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, US President Joe Biden speaks to leaders of Israel, Egypt and Qatar in wake of Hamas hostage deal. IDF chief warns Israel-Gaza conflict will continue for months. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov to hold bilateral talks in Moscow today. External Affairs Minister holds productive meeting with Russia's Deputy Prime Minister, affirms bilateral cooperation. Sweden edges closer to NATO after vote in Turkish Parliamentary Commission. Vote expected to be held within weeks in Parliament General Assembly. US President Joe Biden spoke to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the leaders of Qatar and Egypt on Wednesday in the aftermath of a deal to secure the release of dozens of hostages held by Hamas. The White House in a statement said that President Biden emphasized on the critical need to protect the civilian population, including those supporting the humanitarian aid operation, and the importance of allowing civilians to move safely away from the areas of ongoing fighting. Adding, the leaders discussed the importance of securing the release of all remaining hostages. Biden is vacationing with his family on the Massachusetts island of Nantucket for Thanksgiving. The White House said summaries of the calls would be released later. President Biden also spoke to Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Qatari Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. The White House said Biden and Qatari Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani discussed the need to release hostages held in Gaza and the efforts to boost humanitarian aid. Qatar and Egypt were mediators between Israel and Hamas in the late November truce. Current diplomatic efforts are on for a new truce, and they have yielded little public progress so far. The Israel-Hamas conflict in Gaza will likely go on for many months now, the country's military chief, Herzi Halevi, has said. Israel has vowed to annihilate Hamas after its fighters infiltrated Israel border towns, killing 1,200 people and took about 240 hostages back to Gaza. The Israeli forces are continuing their offensive against Hamas, deploying multiple methods and strategies.
There are no magic solutions. There are no shortcuts in dismantling a terrorist organization. Only determined and persistent fighting will work, and we are very, very determined. We will reach Hamas's leadership too, whether it takes a week or if it takes months.
Israel's chief military spokesperson Daniel Hagari also said that the attacks on ships which have no Israeli links in the Red Sea area is an act of Iranian terrorism carried out by the Houthis. Hagari's statement comes after Israel's announcement of an intercepting of a hostile aerial target by an Israeli fighter jet over the Red Sea area, which was en route to Israeli territory. The United Nations has assigned Sigrid Kaag as the humanitarian. Her appointment follows last week's UN Security Council resolution calling for more aid to enter the Palestinian enclave. William Denslow reports from New York, where the UN is headquartered.
Well, as serving as Finance Minister and Deputy Prime Minister in the Netherlands, Sigrid Kaag has also performed a number of UN duties in the past, including Special Coordinator for Lebanon. Now, as of January 8th, she'll be taking on a new UN role, which is Humanitarian Relief Coordinator in Gaza. The United Nations describes her responsibilities, including her work to facilitate, coordinate, monitor and verify humanitarian relief consignments for Gaza. This is part of a UN Security Council resolution that was passed last week that calls for the urgent steps to be taken to immediately allow the safe, unhindered and expanded humanitarian access in Gaza. The resolution took days of diplomatic wranglings for council members to find enough consensus to pass it. But critics say it's been watered down and diluted too much, no longer calling for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. UN aid agencies warn that the healthcare system in Gaza is on the brink of collapse, and other aid officials on the ground warn that a quarter of the population in the Palestinian enclave are facing catastrophic levels of hunger. Recently, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres says that a ceasefire is the only way to end the nightmare people in Gaza are currently going through. William Denslow in New York, reporting for DD India.
Meanwhile, Israeli agency has reported that on Tuesday, 83 humanitarian aid trucks and 7 ambulances were inspected at Nitzana checkpoint and transferred to Gaza via the Rafah crossing from Egypt. Also, at the request of UN, the Kerem Shalom border crossing was closed for inspection of aid trucks due to logistics constraints on the Gazan side of the crossing. Earlier, Israeli agency Kogat reported that 218 trucks loaded with humanitarian aid for the people of Gaza were inspected and transferred to the Gaza Strip on Monday. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi militia claimed responsibility for a missile attack on Tuesday on a container ship in the Red Sea and for an attempt to attack Israel with drones. MSC Mediterranean Shipping said that there were no injuries to its crew from the attack on its ship, the United 8th, en route from Saudi Arabia to Pakistan. The ship had informed a nearby coalition naval warship about the attack and had taken evasive maneuvers. Meanwhile, Israel mentioned that its aircraft had intercepted a hostile aerial target in the Red Sea area. In a televised address, Houthi military spokesman Yahya Sarya said that the group had targeted the vessel, which he identified as the MSC United, after the crew failed to respond to warnings, adding that they had carried out a military operation targeting Eilat and other areas in Israel, terming them as occupied Palestine. The Turkish Parliament's Foreign Affairs Commission approved Sweden's NATO membership bid on Tuesday in a key step towards enlarging the Western Bloc. Now, this comes after 19 months of delay, where Ankara had demanded security-related concessions from Stockholm. The commission, controlled by President Erdogan's ruling party, vowed to back the Swedish bid after long hours of debate. The bid had been earlier voted on in November in fact, but got postponed due to some issues. This will again be put to vote in the Parliament General Assembly, where Erdogan's party also holds a majority and is expected to pass, though this will take time. In a statement following the approval, Swedish Foreign Minister Tobias Billström said that Sweden welcomed the move and looked forward to joining NATO. Boris Rouge, NATO Assistant Secretary General for Political Affairs and Security Policy, said that the Commission's approval was excellent news. Thousands gathered in front of the Central Election Commission building in Belgrade on Tuesday to protest over the recent election results. The opposition, Serbia Against Violence Alliance, which placed second in a general election earlier this month, has accused the ruling Serbian Progressive Party of widespread vote fraud. Serbia Against Violence has been organizing daily protests over the results in front of the Election Commission. On Sunday evening, the protests turned violent and 38 people were detained by the police. This happened after an international monitoring mission last week accused the ruling party of an unfair advantage through media bias, the improper influence of President Alexander Vučić, and voting irregularities. Marinika Tepic, a leading figure in Serbia's main opposition party, vowed on Tuesday to continue on with a hunger strike to protest against election fraud, despite a deterioration in her health after 9 days without food. She was placed on daily intravenous drips twice following a deterioration in her health on Monday. Tepic accused authorities of including dead people on the voter lists and importing voters from Bosnia and Kosovo. A Ukrainian attack on the Crimean port of Feodosia damaged a large Russian landing ship, killing 1 person and injuring 2 others. Footage showed the moment of the large explosion at the Crimean port of Feodosia on Tuesday as thick plumes of smoke rose. Moscow confirmed the number of casualties and damage on Tuesday after Kyiv said that it had destroyed an important Russian warship. Ukraine says at least one policeman has been killed and 4 others were injured in a Russian attack on a railway station in the southern Ukraine city of Kherson on Tuesday. About 140 civilians had been at the station in the early evening, and quick action by police to direct them away saved many lives, according to Ukrainian Interior Minister. Ukrainian Railways said evacuees were taken from the station by bus northwest to the town of Mykolaiv. Delayed trains were rescheduled. In a nightly video address on Tuesday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Russian forces had shelled the railway station in the southern city of Kherson, with the number of casualties still to be determined.
There was a Russian strike on the Kherson railway station. There was an evacuation train. All services are now on site. The number of dead and injured is being established. There were many civilians there.
And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. A man in France has been arrested for the murder of his wife and 4 children in a knife attack on Christmas Day. The bodies were found in a bloodied apartment in northeast of Paris. The mother and 2 daughters were stabbed numerous times, and the younger sons appeared to have been suffocated or drowned. Berlin's 23rd annual Roast Goose Digestion Run saw 200 runners get fit after holiday celebrations. The run, traditionally a 5-kilometer loop, is now a tradition for senior citizens. Co-organizer Wolfgang Peach praises the sunny day after heavy rains, wearing a Santa costume and monk goose. Chinese designer Wang Shenzing has developed a humanoid robot named H1 that can walk as fast as a human adult and is powered by AI technology. The robot, which stands 1.8 meters tall and weighs 47 kilograms, has been developed in just half a year. Nepal's Sauraha hosted the annual Chitwan Elephant Festival, featuring caparisoned elephants and traditional dancers. The event, which resumed 3 years after the COVID pandemic, provides an opportunity to interact with the largest terrestrial mammal and raise awareness about them. We're heading for a short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Live, we'll get you an update on Australian weather, where severe thunderstorms have hit the area, causing widespread disruption. After the recent ambush by security forces in Jammu and Kashmir, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to visit the area to review the security situation. And India's KL Rahul held fort as India scores 200, but South Africa still on top at stumps on day 1.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
India's huge leaps towards becoming self-reliant in defense sector. Policy changes enabling increased involvement of private sector. From humanitarian assistance to rescue operations. Increased synergy among armed forces through joint military exercises. Watch Echoes 2023, India's Defenders at these times only on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live. Let's get to more updates. Discussing the forward-looking bilateral partnership agenda for the future, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a telephonic conversation with Crown Prince and Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia. Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. The leaders exchanged views on the current situation in West Asia. They shared deep concerns at terrorism, violence and the loss of civilian lives. Prime Minister reiterated India's long-standing and principled position on the Israel-Palestine issue and called for continued humanitarian aid for the affected population. The two leaders agreed to work together for peace, security and stability in the region. They also emphasized on the need for maintaining maritime security and the freedom of navigation. Prime Minister conveyed greetings to Saudi Arabia on being selected as the host for Expo 2030 and FIFA Football World Cup 2034. India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, who is on a visit to Russia, met Russia's Deputy Prime Minister, Denis Manturov, in Moscow for a comprehensive and constructive discussion on the two nations' bilateral economic relations. Both the leaders appreciated the greater focus on exploring new opportunities and also noted the significant progress in trade, finance, connectivity, energy, civil aviation and nuclear domains. Both the leaders also witnessed signing of agreements on nuclear power and in the areas of medicine, pharmaceutical substances and medical devices. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will hold talks with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Moscow on Wednesday. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also visited the Russian Industry and Trade Exhibition with Deputy Prime Minister Denis Manturov. Pakistan's Election Commission has accepted former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's nomination papers for the February 8 general elections, despite questions about his eligibility following a lifelong disqualification by the Apex Court. Nawaz Sharif's lawyer, Amjad Parvez, said no objections have been raised to his candidature and he will contest both from Lahore and Mansahara city of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa now. Parvez added that Sharif's disqualification has ended after his acquittal in corruption references against him. Sharif was acquitted in two major corruption cases by the Islamabad High Court. Also, going back to Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar's visit to Russia, he visited the Russian Industry and Trade Exhibition with Deputy Prime Minister Denis Manturov. The minister highlighted it as an interesting exposition on Russia's contemporary capabilities and also how it holds promise for greater collaboration between the two countries. South Korea imposed sanctions on 8 North Koreans linked to nuclear and missile development through arms trade, cyber attacks and other illicit activities. Seoul's foreign ministry said that the sanctions came days after North Korea fired a new intercontinental ballistic missile, which South Korea and the United States strongly condemned as a grave violation of the UN Security Council resolutions. The newly blacklisted people include Ri Chang-ho, head of the Reconnaissance General Bureau, involved in overseas hacking operations, and Yang Chol, who helped supply nuclear materials while working at the North Korean embassy in China. Amid a prolonged stalemate at the UN, Seoul has slapped sanctions against Pyongyang independently or together with Washington and Tokyo, seeking to squeeze its funding sources. And chasing their dreams of starting a new life and meeting their loved ones in the United States, the migrant caravan that set off on Christmas walked to the southern Mexican town of Villa Comaltitlan on Tuesday. Mexican National Guard monitored migrants from Honduras and other Latin American and Caribbean countries, stopping occasionally for rest and prayers. The local authorities estimated that the average number of people per day was around 8,000. Top U.S. officials are set to visit Mexico on Wednesday to assist the U.S. in managing a record number of people attempting to cross the border. Australian police have confirmed the death of at least 6 people and 3 others missing following severe thunderstorms in the eastern states of Australia. The storms caused flooding, high winds and torrential rains, with rivers flooded and trees downed. The Bureau of Meteorology has minor flood warnings in place, and Energex, the state-owned electricity company in Queensland, reported that around 86,000 households remain without power. The storms follow the flooding caused by former tropical cyclone Jasper earlier this month. A severe winter storm is battering the northern plains and upper Midwest region of the U.S., causing travel chaos and power outages for millions of people. The National Weather Service has issued a warning that blizzard conditions for central South Dakota into parts of Nebraska, Kansas and Colorado, resulting in difficulty to near impossible travel in the aftermath of Christmas. The storm is expected to dump as much as 13 inches of snow in some areas of South Dakota, along with strong winds of up to 55 miles per hour. The harsh weather could persist until early Wednesday morning, affecting more than 1 million residents and visitors. U.S. stocks extended their rally on Tuesday, kicking off the final week of 2023, with expectations that the Federal Reserve will begin cutting interest rates as soon as March. All the three major U.S. stock indices rose in light trading. S&P 500 gained 0.42%, touching its highest intraday level since January 2022. Meanwhile, the Nasdaq Composite gained 0.54% and the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.43%. All the three are on track for monthly, quarterly and annual gains. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's YouTube channel achieved a significant milestone on Tuesday. Prime Minister Modi's YouTube channel has reached 20 million subscriptions, making it the most subscribed channel among the top global leaders. Prime Minister is the only world leader to have achieved this distinction and leads other global and Indian contemporaries by a huge margin. With a staggering 4.5 billion video views, Narendra Modi YouTube channel leads the pack in terms of subscribers, video views and quality of videos being posted by political leaders on YouTube. Up next, we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India. Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will visit Northern Indian Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir today to review the security situation in Rajouri, Poonch and Pulwama sectors after the recent ambush and weapon recovery by the security forces in the area. A thick layer of dense fog engulfs many parts of northern India early on Wednesday. Many parts of the capital city are shrouded in a thick layer of fog. Fire has been burning in the forests of Kullu in India's Himachal Pradesh since Monday. Till now, forest wealth worth crores has been destroyed. Large flames of fire were seen erupting out of the forest area. The performance of 1,282 tabla players simultaneously in the Tal Darbar program organized under Tansen Festival in the music city of India's Madhya Pradesh and its city Gwalior has done an unprecedented job of registering its name in the Guinness Book of World Records. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated the entire team on social media platform X. Let's get to sports updates now. In cricket, India are playing South Africa in the first test in Centurion. Team India scored 208 for the loss of 8 wickets after 59 overs on day one, after the play was called off due to early rain. KL Rahul held fort from one end to stage India's comeback after Kagiso Rabada punched Indian batsmen to wrap them on low scores. Virat Kohli and Shreyas Iyer contributed 38 and 31 runs respectively after Africa struck early before lunch. KL Rahul then took the responsibility upon himself to help India cross 200 runs and is unbeaten on 70 runs. Shardul Thakur played a cameo of 24 runs. Rabada was the sole destroyer as he took a 5-wicket haul. Nandre Burger took 2 while Marco Jansen took 1. Earlier, South Africa's captain Temba Bavuma won the toss and put India to bat. Day 2 will resume at 8 a.m. or 8 a.m. GMT or 1:30 p.m. IST on Wednesday. On to the ongoing Boxing Day test between Australia and Pakistan at Perth. Pakistan wrapped up Australia's innings at 318 runs on day 2 of the second test match. Marnus Lavrov remained Australia's highest scorer. He scored 63, while Mitchell Marsh scored 41 to propel Australia to a decent score. For Pakistan, Amir Jamal took 3 wickets, while Shaheen Shah Afridi took 2 wickets. Australia leads the 3-match series by 1 point. On to tennis now. Aryna Sabalenka fought back from a set down to beat Ons Jabeur in an entertaining exhibition match in Saudi Arabia on Tuesday. The Belarusian world number 2 started slowly against Tunisian Jabeur, who claimed the first set comfortably. However, reigning Australian Open champion Sabalenka found the range with her heavy ground strokes in the second set, eventually running out the winner 4-6, 6-3, 6-2 in a match which lasted nearly 2 hours. That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.